Taggy Fogarty on the line with us this morning. Morning, Taggy. How are things?
Shane, how are you? How are things?
Keeping well, thanks for joining us. Just to run people through the fixtures we have to look forward to this weekend. In the small ball, Saturday we have the Leinster Senior Hurling Championship round 1. Antrim Dublin at Corrigan Park at 2 o'clock. You've Galway Wexford at Pearse Stadium at 4:30, and then at 6 it's Kilkenny Westmeath at Nolan Park from 6. Plenty of action in the Joe McDonagh as well. Kildare Kerry, Carlow Laois and Offaly Down. There's Christy Ring, Nicky Rackard and Laurie Marr. Plenty of action also on Saturday, and then on Sunday also Laurie Marr, Christy Ring action, but the attention mainly will be on the Munster Senior Hurling Championship round 1. It's Waterford versus Limerick at the FBD Semple Stadium from 2 o'clock, and after that 4 o'clock Clare versus Tip at Cusack Park in Ennis. So loads to look forward to this weekend. Taggarty, I just wanted to get your thoughts first. Taggarty, a little bit of concerning news coming out of your own county this morning. The back of the Irish Independent, Michael Verney, has a piece on Billy Drennan and a potential injury blow for Billy Drennan. It seems like a leg injury, that fears growing that this injury could end his summer, which would be a massive blow for Derek Ling and Kilkenny. 2 goals and 70 points Drennan scored in the league. He scored 212 for the under-20s against Galway just last weekend. This will be a massive blow, Taggarty, if he's out for the season.
Yeah, Shane. I just heard this morning's got a text myself there saying that he could be out. I don't know the ins and outs of it. As I said, you nearly know more than I do there on the back piece of the Independent there. Huge blow for Kilkenny if it is. Now, in saying that, Billy has been excellent during the league. Phenomenal. He was on the freeze, and he was our find of the league, really. If you look at it, Derek was obviously looking for players. He captained the under-20s last year. Like, super hurler. And it's an awful shame if he is out. Now, when it comes to championship, he saw him in the league final. I thought myself, the big question mark about Billy Drennan was he's brilliant on the freeze, but what does he contribute from play? In my opinion, he was excellent up to the league final, and that's fair enough. You're playing an excellent Limerick team, and he wasn't really shown from play. So the big question mark was, what was he going to contribute without taking the freeze? And then, of course, with TJ Reid coming back in, question was, will TJ be on the freeze, will he not? So if he's out, obviously TJ will be on the freeze. I think myself, TJ will be on the freeze myself anyway. But it'd be a massive blow because Billy Drennan has been superb, and he has been superb during the league. And the likes of that, Shane, the likes of a fellow coming on, like, you're not going to be expecting Billy Drennan to be come up and scoring 1-8, 1-9 in championship, 4 or 5 points in play. Realistically, what you want from a player like that, what Derek will be looking for is, a player just to gel in and make a little bit of a difference. And when the ball is going into his kind of area, just to make it stick a little bit, just to get on 1 or 2 points, not to be, dictating the game at all whatsoever, but to play along the side, the likes of Mullen, TJ Reid, Mossy Keoghan, these lads, and just to fit in nicely and makes some sort of a different type of a player, something different for the other teams to play for. And that's the aspect really that'll be missing if Billy Drennan is injured.
One of the big games, I suppose, to focus on, Taggy, is Waterford Limerick, and I mean, where Limerick are at, we know where they're at, and every team is kind of bigging them up, and they're all in this together, I think was the quote David Burke was using on the back page of some of the papers this morning. Is there a blueprint whatsoever in how to beat Limerick? Like, what do Waterford do this weekend?
Well, that's the conundrum, Shane. We don't know. You hit the nail on the head. We know exactly what Limerick are going to do. Limerick, they've been talked about, they've been analysed, they've been dissected, they have a super panel, they're a better team this year than they were the last couple of years. The strength and depth, huge. So the question is on that game is, what are Waterford going to come with? They didn't take the league serious. They were playing a very defensive looking system. They played one up front. Kylie was up front there. I was at the Kilkenny game, to the terrible game, Kilkenny-Waterford, and Waterford didn't look like they wanted to win it. Kilkenny just kind of went on and won it for the sake of it, kind of thing, and that's the way it looked like. So the big question is, what is Waterford going to come with? They went off to Portugal for a training camp. I was just reading the Independent's Martin Jamie Barron about how it's changed over the course of the 6 months between Liam Callan and stuff, that it's gone very tactical, very analysing certain things, how we're going to play. So realistically, it's how Waterford are going to set up and how Limerick are going to deal with that, because Waterford are at the minute are the unknown. Davy Fitz have been playing them down, saying we've a lot of work to do. In my opinion, that's a bit of tactics in my own sense, because Waterford aren't a bad team. They're not like this time last year. We were saying Waterford were the ones to put it up to Limerick. They have phenomenal players. They went 2-21, I think, to 30 points in the first round of the championship last year to Limerick. They were 3 points off them, so they're not too far off the mark. And the problem is with Limerick, is what to expect. Like, what's Davy Fitz is going to want to do? He's going to want to upset Limerick, drag him out of position, pull him all over the pitch, and put on their running game. Now, the problem with that is Limerick are so used to it. And the thing with Limerick is, and I know people have kind of mentioned it a small bit, is they get to grips with the team at half time. We've seen in COVID with the water breaks how exceptional after the water breaks Limerick were, because whatever they're doing in their analysis team. I see laptops out in the league final. Paul Connerk obviously has been spoke about. They seem to relative the problem, put their finger on it and rectify it in the second half. So the thing for me is, I can't see this Waterford Limerick game being a spectacle as in a super game, but I can see it being a grafting kind of game, and then the second half Limerick kind of get in the terms of what way Waterford are going to play and come out and kind of get over the line. But like they're serious players like Caelan Lyons, Hutchison, Jack Fagan, Prunty on Galan. Prunty always takes on Galan. Tadhg de Burke on Keane Lynch. Like, there's really, really good matchups here. So I think it'll be a tactical kind of a battle, if you get me.
I think, Taggy, just watching Limerick close up, it's like probably the best standard of hurling in terms of you've ever seen, really, in terms of their physicality, their athleticism, and so on and so forth. Is there any concern within hurling when you look at the football championship this year that you've so many teams, like realistically, that could win the All Ireland? I think you could nearly stretch to 6 or 7 teams in with some sort of a shout. That hurling's in a situation now where Limerick could literally obliterate teams left, right and centre and just make this a very uninteresting championship. Is there any fear in hurling about that? Yeah,
of course there is. Limerick have blown away everybody nearly this year so far in the league. Now, albeit the league is totally different in hurling now. As far as I can see, teams put very little interest in it. They try out players, they try different things. But definitely Limerick are on the cusp of a wave at the minute. Everything is clicking for them. I think it's the first time ever they have no injuries whatsoever. There's 37 players on the panel. They're all going to train. They're all fighting for places. It's becoming to a stage where they're just being competitive inside the camp, and that's a great place to be. You talk about motivation about getting on the team. Because people say, the place is rough for grabs. But that Limerick team is pretty much the same Limerick team that has been going for the last 3, 4, 5 years. But the thing is, if anyone drops their standards, that's when people get in. And so Limerick do not want to stop their standards. And there is a fear factor out there that, yes, this championship will be just mundane and Limerick will just blow them all away. But that's the joys of sport, because you just don't know. Last year we were kind of saying the same thing. But in the Munster final, Clare put them to a draw after full-time 70 minutes. No, just a cracking spectacle. Galway in the semi-final came really, really close to him. Kilkenny weren't too far off him either. So there is that kind of sense of Limerick will just walk the championship. But then again, I kind of look at it and say, championship is championship. There's always upsets. And the thing with Limerick is, if you beat them once, you mightn't catch them again. So I'm hoping they come through Munster unbeaten, and then they might get caught in a semi-final and be knocked out so they can't regroup. That's what I'm hoping.
Just David Burke as well quoted obviously in the papers today saying he felt that Galway really had Limerick actually kind of fit their body language. They were a little bit rattling in the second half last year. And then David Burke was on to say, I think Henry has a better panel this year, almost talking Galway up. Where are Galway at?
I think Galway are very, very close. I was thinking about that myself, and I was looking at it and I said, maybe back in my time when teams were playing us, there was one team that always thought they could take us down, and that was Tipperary. First of all, they had the tradition, and I suppose maybe, for want of a better word, they're nearly cocky enough to believe that they could take us down, and they have, and they did.
Yeah.
And that real kind of sense of belief. So what other teams is, do they really believe they can beat this Limerick team? Do Cork really believe it? I'm not too sure. Waterford, Wexford, Dublin, I'm not too sure, but I think Galway, behind it all, believe they can do it because they have the physicality, they have the players, they're second year in with Henry Shefflin. A lot of them players, the likes of Daithí Burke, Grover McInerney, these lads are coming toward the end, the latter end of the stages of the careers. So if they're going to do it, perhaps this is the year to do it. And the thing with Galway is they flatter and deceive sometimes. As we said, we're having this conversation again. I had it last year, the year before. Galway are the team that could do it. And I think with Galway, they need to throw off the shackles and they need to get a little bit ruthless. And when they have teams, pinned down, they need to really put the pressure on and put them away in games. Just get that really ruthless edge. And I think get a team spirit going. You know, there's a team spirit in teams when they win All Irelands and when they get over the line, you know, in real crunch matches. And that team spirit is kind of like can't be broken. That kind of a real spirit. Brian Cody was talked about beforehand, about, you know, that unbreakable kind of a team spirit. And I think Sheffield needs to work on that a small bit. With the club scene up there, it's toxic at times. And I wonder about Galway, like really as a whole team, do they really buy into each other on the field? You know, maybe when the championship is over, do they go for a few pints themselves? Do they ring each other? Are they buddies off the field? You know, if they bring that together, get a real kind of a drive, Galway could be the team. And also Clare, I have a sneak feeling for Clare as well. Like Clare in the league, they've never took the league seriously, in my opinion. But, you know, championship, Clare do well in championship. Clare have won the last 8 championship games from 12, and they topped the table last year. Like Brian Lohan is not bad, you know, in a serious competition. Like Munster is a serious competition, but they just need that little extra belief when they get to the All Ireland series of getting over the line. They seem to have Munster nearly kind of cracked. But they're there together a while as well. And Brian Lohan, I rate Brian Lohan highly. I think, you know, he's down to earth. He gets a drive out of him. And, you know, you have players coming back into that Clare team as well. They found a couple of players this year, I feel. You know, Aidan McCarthy is after coming back as well. He's a massive addition. Mark Rogers, Adam Hogan, you know, these kind of guys. And then you could have a forward line of Tony Kenny, Shane O'Donnell, Aidan McCarthy, David Reid, Ian Galvin, Aaron Shanahan, you know, Peter Duggan. They're not too far off as well if they just get it right.
100%. That's one of the games I'm most looking forward to this weekend. Clare tip, Cusack Park and Ennis at 4 o'clock, and of course it's a neutral venue for Waterford Limerick because Walsh Park unavailable for them, so Sebba Stadium it is. Taggy, enjoy the action this weekend. Thanks as always for hopping on.
Thanks guys, thanks for having me.
Great stuff. Taggy Fogarty there, Kilkenny legend.
Henry Shefflin will play that clip back to Taggy if Galway happen to win the All Ireland. Now we'll have a few points, you know. Tell me about team spirit. Yeah, I think he's alluding to something that definitely was the case. I'm not sure it's the case anymore. The worry for Galway is, have Limerick gotten better? And I think hurling is at
I thought it was impossible, but maybe they have.
I think it is a concern for hurling this year. First of all, the scoring level is a bit too high for a lot of people in neutrals. I think that might sound daft, but like, you don't want a basketball game either. There are too many scores in games to a large extent. And I do think the clash between hurling and football in terms of viewing figures and interest this year is going to be very interesting, because football is going to be compelling from start to finish.
Yeah, for sure. Especially once you reach the group stages and stuff. Definitely, it's going to be interesting. And as you said, that the sliotar being a bit light as well has maybe added to a lot of those
their athleticism. They can just they can hit points from practically everywhere now, and you don't really want games where it's regularly one team scoring over 30 points against good opposition. You don't want that, in my view, anyway.
100%.